All right, Kevin back with you for another episode of the Million Dollar Relationships Podcast. And today I am here with William Wang. William, welcome. So awesome to have you here, man. And
Kevin, thank you so much for having me.
yeah, you bet. And I got to tell you, I got to give a shout out to James. James Schramko is because what I do when I interview guests for the podcast. And by the way, James, I've known James for years. James and I originally met years ago at one of Yannick Silver's underground events when he was doing those. And I reconnected with him, and I interviewed James for the podcast. And after doing so, I had asked him, I was like, James, who are one or two other entrepreneurs that now that you've gone through this experience that you feel I should absolutely interview? And William, you were one of the people. He was like, Kevin, you need to interview William. And so here we are. And yeah, thank you, James, for connecting William and I. And William, I've already been doing a little bit of researching and checking you out online and your website, and I'm really stoked about this interview and what you're doing in this world. And what I'd like to do is just kind of start by turning it over to you to share a little bit, give a little bit of context, give a little bit of background on what you do, who you serve, what inspires you most about your work, and we'll just kind of start there, William.
Yeah, thanks, Kevin. And yeah, I mean, James Schramko is literally the man. So I'm trying to go into that as we go. In terms of what we do, who we serve, I think the best way to describe it is I am a copywriter by background. So I have a love for words. I love using words to help people grow businesses and to get the message out to the world. In terms of who I serve, I think there's two distinct audiences. So one, we serve some fairly large companies who are more B2B, which is business to business. And when they need leads or new sales and revenue, they come through to us and we say, yep, sure, let's build you a lead generation machine or an engine that gets you to grow your business. Mm-hmm. So that's one side, and they're amazing clients. And we have some really, really good clients on board that we've worked with for years. The other side, which we're starting to really pick up in terms of who we serve now, are actually smaller business owners. And they're the ones who are typically consultants or who have gone into the business for themselves, and they've been doing it for a few years, maybe making a few $100,000 here and there. And they just feel like they just need extra help, either extra hands on deck or either extra resources or knowledge. And they just want to grow, but they just don't know how or don't have the time to do that. And we step in and actually partner with them to go and grow their business. So those are kind of the two different demographics that we serve.
Okay. How long have you been doing this now, William?
It's my 7th year actually, so
wow.
It's been a while.
Yeah, and I know I was really impressed with what I saw when I was researching, because you are very intentional, as am I, about the clients that you bring on, and you only bring on clients that you can deliver results for. And novel concept, right? But as such, you're able to guarantee your results for your clients because you are so intentional about who you serve and stuff. And I just wanted to acknowledge that, because that's really something. That is really something. And kudos to you guys. So
yeah, thanks, Kevin. It's just one of those things where I think it came through from a lot of mistakes I made where I served the wrong clients. Got in with the motive of only making as much as I can, and it's just every single time it just never worked out. So then with the guidance of James, we've actually gone back and said, look, what if we built this amazing agency? What would it look like? And one of the things that I took away was, well, I don't want to be the biggest agency because it's just overhead and stress. I want to be the best. I want to have 100% success rate for our clients. And that quite openly, it hasn't happened. We don't hit 100% success rate. And I think it's almost impossible to, but it's what we chase. So we're pretty close to that. But obviously there's sometimes in terms of marketing and lead generation where the market doesn't work or something just doesn't happen. And, but at least from our side, we can go to sleep at night knowing that we've guaranteed. So if we haven't achieved the results, there's repercussions, and, we make sure that we honor our agreement and make it right by every single business owner that we work with. So that's kind of the goal that we've got.
Yeah, I mean, that's awesome. And you and I, are just in so alignment on that, because I know, with what I do, I mean, I facilitate $1 million relationships, but it's so much more than about what I bring to the table. This is a completely co-creative, co-collaborative process. It's as much about who I serve and how they show up as it is what I do. And when somebody is a rock star at what they do, when they are world, I mean, I was on a call last Friday, raving about this guy. And I I mean, he is world class at what he does, but yet he is so low key and he does not, what's the right word? He ain't going to talk about himself a lot, and I love doing it for him, because when I say what he does and I give an example of, like, here's an example of what he did for a client, the other person was like, what? I'm like, exactly right. I'm like, and it makes it so dang easy for me to do my thing when you just have people who care about what they do.
Mm.
And so kudos to you, William. That is awesome. Okay, so what I want to do now is I'm going to shift gears just a little bit. I'm going to reiterate the question for the benefit of the
Mhm.
listeners. So, have you ever been introduced to a person or persons that completely changed the course of your life or your business, so much so that much of what you have today would not be possible if not for this person or persons? And William, I'm just really excited to have you, give you an opportunity to share your story and your experience around this, and honor anybody who's had such a profound impact on your life and on your business.
Absolutely. So the person for me, I think it's no surprise, would actually be Mr. James Framco himself. And when you frame the question like, with this person, without this person in my life, would it look completely different? With James, it's a resounding yes. So just for context, James is my actual business coach and also a partner in my business now. And before I came into James's world, I should say, I had the agency. I'd been going for about 3 years by that time. Pretty much almost made no money. So the first couple of years was rough. We took everything out of our life savings and mortgage and plunked into the business, and it still wasn't sustainable. It still wasn't paying what I used to make at a corporate salary. The third year was a little bit better in business. We started to at least catch up to a few things and started to not have to stress about putting money, and food on the table. But it was still really stressful business, massive hours. We weren't doing it; just wasn't worth the effort. And at that point, we were doing about $25,000 a month. But obviously, there's expenses with that, so it wasn't all profit. And I was doing crazy hours, and I was just ready to give it in. And so one of my other friends said, look, why don't you talk to James? James is great at operations. He'll help you systemize and he'll help you wrap your head around this business. And from that point, as soon as I started working with James, I think in 6 months, we had doubled the revenue and halved my hours. So I was doing 70, 80-hour weeks. I was literally doing everything myself in the business. And James helped me to understand our client model. He helped me to understand who our best clients were, who were getting the best results from us, how to operationalize, how to hire. And I think it's been about 3 or 4 years since I've been working with James, and we've just grown astronomically, both from revenue perspective and also from the operation side and team members, to the point where, yeah, hands down, if James hadn't come into my life, I would probably either have gone back to corporate or I'd be just freelancing and making a much small impact on the world and on clients.
So I want to make sure I heard you right, because did you say that in
Yep.
first 6 months of working with James, you guys doubled revenue while also cutting your work hours in half?
Yep.
That's
In
huge,
6 months.
William. That's huge. Wow. Wow.
Yeah. It honestly just came down to, it was one of the most impactful things, I think, where James put me in touch with a client of his, and he said to me, look, your copy is world class, if not pretty close to. I've got a client that needs help with their copy, and they're a bigger business, so you cannot charge a rate you've charged. Otherwise, they'll think that you're not taking them seriously, or you're not going to give them enough time. And so that was one of the mindset shifts that really made it impactful for me. Just knowing that I can actually charge more, because with some of the bigger businesses, I'm helping them make more, right? So the single email campaign I did made about $500,000 for this business. And at the point in time, I was only charging about 3,000. And James said, no, cut that out. You've got to charge at least 5% of your worth, which I think I didn't even charge him that much.
Okay.
But it was just like eye-opening. Well, hang on. If I work with bigger businesses and have more of an impact, I can charge more, and everybody's winning. Everybody's happy off the back of this. So that was, one of the key lessons James taught me first and foremost, and we've just been building on that.
That is awesome. So yeah, I can see, I mean, that's really powerful. And so well, first of all, I know you mentioned before we hit the record button that there was some other people that you might want to honor too. So I want to, before I start digging in with my questions, I want to make sure that we honor, if there's other people that you want to talk about and honor and give kudos to, I want to make sure we get to acknowledge them too and stuff. So
Thanks, Kevin. And I think that's, one of the things that I absolutely love about your show, the fact that we can go into the people that have made an impact, because you're absolutely right. And I think we both share a very similar worldview where the people around you or in your network make a business and also make your life. Yeah. So besides from James, I mean, I think there's too many people to name, because every single person that I've come across has really helped me to get to where we are. But even, other people have helped me, people like Mitch Harper, who's the co-founder of a company called Big Commerce, probably one of the best Australian success stories, to come out of Australia. So him and his accountant and business partner, Dave Kenny, who's now my accountant, have had an astronomical impact on me in terms of learning how to think about bigger businesses and hiring and looking at, what it takes to grow a software business. So that was really interesting. People, other people like Grace and Adam Lever, who are such good friends of mine now, and who had this massively impactful coaching business. So to be able to see behind the scenes of someone who's grown a multiple 8-figure business that's made such a big impact in the world kind of just shifted my mindset and worldview. And then other people that I've come up with, people like Jared Codling, who's probably Australia's best growth hacker. We came up together, and to see how he's looking at the world and thinking and doing what he does. I mean, I count myself blessed with just having the network of people that I have, and just all the people around me who've just taught me so many lessons. So I think if I had to go on and on about every single person I've come across that has had an impact, I think we'll go for 10 hours. So I think I'll just make a special shout out to those people.
You bet. Well, and I think that's important, because you're right. When we look at all the relationships that we've had over our lives and the impact that they've had on us personally, and that they've poured into us, that they've contributed to ourselves, and you're right. There's none of us who are self-made. There's a lot of people that have had impact on us, that have caused us to look at things differently and to do things differently and to get a different result. And as a result of that, I mean, the work that you are doing now, William, because of who you serve, not only do you serve the clients that you serve directly, but the impact that you have because of who they are. And that's what I really start to look at in these relationships, is when we serve the right people, we get to have a really big impact in the world, not just because of who we are and what we bring to the table, but because of who they are and what they bring to the table. And that it's that co-collaboration, that co-creation, that we can do far more together than we can ever do on our own. And so if you look at any of these relationships, and just choose any one of them, and I'll just frame the question this way, but if you look at any of the people that you've mentioned, and you look back over those relationships and the span of those relationships, and you think, the biggest thing that's happened that hands down would have never happened if not for your relationship with that person, what's one of the things that comes to mind for you personally, William?
I think just my growth mindset and belief in what's possible.
Okay.
I think that'll be the key. Just because everybody that I mentioned has in one way or another, whether they've directly told me or whether they've set an example, to see, you know, the impact that you can have on the world at large, and by an extension, the impact that you can have on your own life, right? It's the idea that we were talking about before, like this entrepreneurial life, you can actually have it all.
Yeah.
Contrary to what the outside world says, you absolutely can. And I think knowing all these people who have done these, you know, $100 million deals or growing, you know, multiple eight-figure companies, but still maintaining a lifestyle and, you know, yes, they're comfortable, but having the thought about how are we shaping the world around us and making positive impact. I don't think I would have thought any of that would be possible without knowing these people. And I think that's what's kind of driven me to look at, well, why are we stopping where we are? Why can't we go and help the world in this other way? Or why can't we bring on companies to partner with them because they're doing this amazing thing in the world? So I think that's probably the key. It's just the growth mindset, just the idea of, you know, there's infinite possibility, the idea that you can go and grow $100 million business and also love your life at the same time.
Yeah. 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 And you know, it's I think it's not that we just can do that, but in my viewpoint, we must do that because we've got to have, I mean, I can't be at my best serving my clients at my best if my business isn't fitting in with the life that I want to live. If in a and don't get me wrong, because I have, you know, when you said there was a period of time when you were working 60, 70 hours a week, I've been there too, you know, and now I would never go back there because, you know, I am a family guy. I've got 7 kids, I've got 6 grandkids. And one of my, you know, big things is I want to be that husband and that father, and not just be the entrepreneur husband and father that provides for my family, but is never there. I want to be there too. I want them to have a relationship with me. And the thing is like when my life is, when I'm getting what I need from my life, from my business, from my relationships, when I get what I need and I'm taking care of me first, well, everybody else gets what they need too, because there's no mistaking that when we are getting all that, our clients know that, like, you know what, man, that William guy, he really cares about me. He really cares about my company. Versus, by the same exact token, if we're hating life, if we're hating the way that our business fits in with our life, we can't hide that either. People will recognize that too.
Yeah.
So, yeah, yeah. And well, William, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to have this conversation today. And I just really appreciate what you shared. For anybody listening to this, that's like, dang, Kev, I really like that William guy, and I like the way he shows up. How can they get more information on what you guys are doing, William, and that kind of thing?
Yeah, thanks, Kevin. So probably the easiest way is to head to our website, which is growth labs, spelled with a Z at the end, .com. And on that, they can find, we're just rejigging the website now. So they'll find a bunch of resources that we're going to put up on there and a contact form. Otherwise, just look me up on LinkedIn. I think my LinkedIn handle is Will Lives Here or Will Wang Lives Here or something like that. So just find me on either the website or on LinkedIn and just reach out. And, you know, if there's anything that I can do to help, I'm more than happy to do so. And it's really, you know, the kindness of other people who've given me so much information in the past that's really helped. So if I can do the same for someone else going through the journey, would absolutely love to.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, really appreciate that, William. Any last thing you want to share before we call her a wrap?
No, I think I think I just wanted to share my appreciation, Kevin, with what you do, because I'm a true believer in the people in your network and people around you and who you learn from really shapes our destiny and the world around us. So thank you so much for putting something like this together. It's, I think, not something that not enough people talk about. There's so many strategic and tactical podcasts out there, but the fact that yours focuses on relationship between people, I think is something that we all definitely need. So thank you, and thank you for having me on. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you.
Absolutely. My pleasure. And thank you as well, William.